I call Andrew Bailey.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I'm pleased to be able to speak on the Appropriation Supplementary Estimates Bill before the House today. The terms of this bill make me proud to be a National MP, as it's easy to see that the provisions of our budget are so wide-ranging, reaching our regions, reaching all sections of our communities, improving our infrastructure and the provision of better services. The Labour Party, always presenting itself as the defenders of low-income New Zealanders, did not come close to providing the economic measures and planning that this government was able to present to New Zealand last month. Labour, notably short on social innovation, had already made response to many of the improvements and packages to be introduced in order to make the lives of New Zealanders better. That response was always, don't do it, don't do it. Well, Mr Speaker, this government thinks otherwise. And we are determined to implement these measures designed to assist and relieve New Zealanders and their families in all areas of their lives where help is needed. Now, it's perhaps just useful to recap on the main elements of the budget. The first bit, I think, is an excellent piece of innovation. The $790 million child hardship package. It is a balanced piece which requires low-income earners and families that provides them with an increase in their benefit rates. It also increases the benefits in terms of childcare assistance and out-of-school care, but balances this with the need for the obligation to seek employment as soon as possible when children get to a suitable age. The budget also put significant new resources into health. There was another $1.7 billion, taking the health vote to a record $15.9 billion, an increase of nearly $700 million in health, taking again the education vote to just under $11 billion. The social housing provisions were great, particularly around the Tamaki development, seeing those 7,000 homes that we want to see built there as soon as possible, and some of the other funding initiatives that were related to that. The $500 million of ACC cuts that come in over the next couple of years, which will be great not only for employers, but also for people, for working New Zealanders. This is all good stuff. I have, on previous occasions, spoken at length about what this government has done to support working New Zealand families. Tonight, I do not intend to repeat these, other than to say that not only is there a social imperative for us as a government to support our vulnerable families, there's also a financial incentive. Quite simply, it is good business to have a fairer society where every child growing up in New Zealand has the opportunity to pursue their own dreams and aspirations. Instead, what I want to focus on tonight is two things: government debt, which our opposition loves to talk about it, and growth rates, and also regional growth rates. These are two themes that I hear repeatedly coming forward from the opposition party. The first priority of this government has always been to ensure that government's finances are responsibly and efficiently managed. We inherited accounts from the previous government which showed spending that had risen by 50% over 5 years. This was obviously unaffordable, it was also unsustainable, and also irresponsible. What our fiscal strategy has been is to support the economy in the short term by reducing deficits over time, and we have succeeded in that. The Crown books are in good shape and showing operating balances increasing over time and debt reducing. Now, as at 30 April this year, gross Crown debt stood at $85.5 billion, but after, if you subtract the student loans and other such provisions, talking about a net debt level, our net debt was $64 billion, or just under 27% of GDP. Forecasts show that by 2020, Crown debt will drop to 20%. Now, I find it fascinating looking at this and comparing it to the debt figures of our major trading partners. Australia's debt, apparently that lucky country, has a current debt to GDP ratio of about ours, but by 2020 will be at 40% of GDP. 40% represents double New Zealand's debt levels. The UK economy is currently at about 90% of debt, but of GDP to debt to GDP, but by 2020 we'll have only reduced that to 80%, i.e. 4 times New Zealand's debt levels, and that 80% is broadly in line with the EU in total, the European countries, at 4 times New Zealand's debt. And the US economy, whilst it's growing strongly, has even higher debt, currently just under 110% of GDP, and by 2020, 5 years' time, it will only just be just over 1% of GDP. Those are staggeringly high amounts of debt. And thankfully, through good financial management by Bill English, we are in a strong financial position to weather future financial storms and economic circumstances. The other area I want to turn my mind to is the GDP growth rates and the regional growth rates. The reality is the New Zealand economy has been growing strongly and is expected to continue to grow strongly. As at 31 March this year, we achieved a growth rate of 3.3%, and the Reserve Bank's recent forecast showed that over the next 3 years, we will average 3%. That is a good, strong, consistent growth rate. The 2015 growth rate compares favourably when you look at our trading partners. Again, the highest performing one is China, of course, which has been growing very, very strongly, but for the same period recorded a growth rate of 7%, i.e. just over double ours. But this year is forecast to be between 6 and 7%. Australia, again, that lucky country that people love to quote, recorded a mere 2.3%, which was close to America's GDP growth rate of about 2.5. But Europe, again, is growing poorly. Its growth rate is less than 2% and forecast to be still at those levels. Again, all those rates are significantly lower than New Zealand's current and forecast growth rates over the longer term. What is interesting, again, is to look at the regional growth rates. Contrary to the uninformed view of the opposition, the regions are in general growing strongly. Based on the ANZ's latest forecast, the areas growing most strongly are, first of all, Bay of Plenty at 4.8%, Canterbury at 4.4%, and Auckland at 4.3%. But areas such as Northland, and it's an interesting one that always seems to be quoted, growing strongly at 3.4%. Gisborne, 3.5%. Otago, 3.3%. Southland, 4%. They all belie opposition's claims that this strong economic growth is only being localised in Christchurch economies. These comments by the opposition actually do a disservice to the hard-working people of these regions. They're resourceful, they're strong, and they're getting on with the job. Where this budget has helped to continue that growth in the region is in the areas of the roads. We've announced another 100 million for regional highways. Broadband, we've got this massive spend, and we put in another 210 million into the ultra-fast broadband rollout, another 140 million in the regional rural broadband rollout. Health facilities, we heard earlier today how we ploughed in 140 million into Southland DHB over the last few years. Our child hardship package, the 790 million one. Interesting, the member for Rangatiki was saying the other day that he estimates that that will generate $1 million of extra income put into Taumarunui every year. That's a significant boost to that local economy. The focus on regionally based research institutes, and the 13 million that we provided to help Māori people further develop and make their lands far more productive. A whole suite of package that is designed to help our regions grow. This is all about creating a fairer economy. This is a government with a plan. This is a government with a heart.
I'm sorry
this
to
is a
interrupt the
government
honourable
that
member.
wants to do the
His
right
time
thing.
has expired. Call the honourable